Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some songs from my many Spotify playlists that remind me of my favourite YA characters. So for extremely boring copyright law reasons, I wasn't actually able to put any of these songs in this video, so I have created your very own personalised playlist on Spotify. So if you pause this video right now, scroll down to the description box and have the playlist ready, you can listen to the songs alongside my analysis and then hopefully it will make a whole lot more sense. If you haven't got Spotify, do not fear. I will be putting the name of the song and the artist up on the screen so you can pause the video, go onto whatever music streaming service you use, get the song up and carry on from there. So now's your chance to pause this video, scroll down to the description box and open up the Spotify playlist now. Everyone good? Let's begin. Okay, I'm going to begin with none other than Celaena Sardothien from Sarah J. Maas's series Throne of Glass. Heads up, if you haven't read this series yet, there will be a few spoilers in this video, so go down to the description, look at the timestamps and fast forward until you get to a character that you know and a character within whose series you have already read. I am also documenting my first time read of this series on this channel as well, so if you haven't watched those videos, get on it. So I know that technically I've only read 2.5 books, but honestly I feel like I've found the ultimate Celaena song. I told my friend Willow and she was like, this is the best Celaena song ever, like it's perfect. So the song I'm talking about is Blood in the Cup by K.Flay. So I've ended up actually attributing most of K.Flay's songs to the character of Celaena. I don't know why, I feel like this music just reminds me of her so much, but for me Blood in the Cup is the ultimate Celaena song across all the books in the series. So the start of the song reminds me of Celaena being the badass assassin that we know and love. You've got lyrics like, guess I'm contagious, you'd be safest if I ran. Then you have a nod to Celaena suffering under the hands of Arabin when the song says, take my arm, break it in half. But the whole point of the song is that the person they are singing it about can't live in silence and can't live with the thoughts in their head. They need like a constant distraction from the past and they often end up distracting themselves with violence. You cannot tell me that this is not Celaena in the first few books. I need noise, I need the buzz of a sub, I need the crack of the whip. That's her in the Endovia mines. Need some blood in the cut. That obviously alludes to Celaena's assassin lifestyle. This song is basically about self-punishment and punishing yourself for reasons outside of your control, which is pretty much Celaena, let's be real. Okay, next song, and we are still sticking with Celaena, we are still sticking with K.Flay, but instead we're going with the song Can't Sleep. This song reminds me in particular of the beginning of Heir of Fire. When Celaena is in Wendlin, she's feeling so sorry for herself. She's lounging around on rooftops, drinking copious amounts of alcohol, eating hummus all day long, and basically avoiding all responsibilities and everything that happened in Ardalan in the first 2 books. So the song begins basically with Celaena punishing herself for what has just happened in Ardalan. So you've got things like missing cash, blacking out, heartless in a few ways, shout out to KO here, shit for luck, elbow shredded. This is Celaena never being able to catch a break and also having loads of scars, not just from her life as an assassin, but also because she doesn't care anymore. She's lounging around on the rooftops in the sun, getting into scraps and just generally being a nuisance to herself. But then you get the line, but rising on up and tumbling down, it's all part of the process. This alludes not only to Celaena's tumultuous childhood, but all the shit that also just happened in books 1 and 2. It seemed like every time she picked herself up, she falls back down again. For me, the chorus of this song is Celaena trying to escape all her problems, trying to run away, but these problems end up catching up with her. She can't sleep and all she can think about is Nehemia. I can't sleep, I hope I stay awake because I've been running all day. That is Celaena running away from Ardalan and going to Wendlin. Long nights, no peace. I feel like everybody's eyes on me. Girl knows that people are looking for her. She knows that she's got relatives in Wendlin and she's just waiting for someone to realize who she is and take her to where she needs to go next. A good line here is, you say I'm crazy but I feel amazing. I think that's that feeling of when you feel so low and you just give up completely and you just think I can do what I want because I don't care anymore. Obviously then we have Rowan finding Celaena and he takes her up through the forest and into the Demi-Fae court. At this point in the book, Celaena just gives up. She's just like, I'm just gonna follow him. I'm too exhausted to do otherwise. I'm just gonna let him take me wherever he wants to go. So that goes along with the lyrics, please calm the fuck down, I'll do whatever you say. And then Then obviously, don't ask me questions, I'm tired of confessing, is her not being able to confess what happened to Nehemia. She doesn't want to answer any of Rowan's intrusive questions, she just wants him to go away. So in the pre-chorus, you also have an allusion to the fact that Celaena is actually the heir to the throne. My mother told me that the world has got its plans. I want to hold them till they burn right through my hands. If you remember the flashback in Heir of Fire, where Celaena is in bed and she hears her parents in the room next door discussing her plans to rule and discussing the fact that she is the heir to the throne, and she's like, I do not want to do it. I do not want to rule this land. I just want to be a normal girl. And I know that it's not much to say, but I swear I'd like to change. For me, that's a play on words. It could be alluding to Celaena changing from her animal form to her fae form, or it could be more metaphorical, Celaena changing her behaviour to avenge Nehemia's death. So this song is generally just about wanting to escape your problems, but as always, your problems catch up with you and you can't run from them forever. Don't want to get up, I don't want to stop, I don't want to close my eyes, I'd rather not give a fuck and end up with some scars. The night's just long enough for me to build it up and let it fall apart. For me, this is Celaena in Heir of Fire all damn over. Okay, from Throne of Glass to the Shadowhunter Chronicles. As I've been reading these books for over 8 years, there are a lot of songs that remind me of these characters, but I've chosen some of my favourite ones to share with you today. I'm going to start with the Infernal Devices, so if you haven't read that series yet, please don't watch this part of the video. Use the timestamps in the description to skip through to the next character that you do know. So most of the songs that remind me of the Infernal Devices characters are songs that I first listened to in 2014 and 2015 when I read these books for the first time. However, at the end of 2020, Taylor Swift surprised us all with a second album out of the blue, Evermore. And suddenly I found another song that reminded me of one of my favourite couples in the Infernal Devices, Jem and Tessa, with the song Willow. I'm not being dramatic, but the first time I listened to the song, I immediately thought of these two characters. Well, I guess that's a bit of a lie. The first time I listened to Evermore was 4:30 a.m. in the morning. I was in my bed with my headphones in, bawling my eyes out. Yeah, Evermore was a lot. However, the second time I listened to the song, I knew it was a total Jessa song, and here's why. The way I listen to Willow is that it is Tessa retelling her and Jem's relationship right from the start when they first meet, over the century when he's a silent brother, and ending with their final meeting at Blackfriars Bridge when Jem is mortal once again. So the first line of the song, I'm like the water when your ship rolled in that night, refer to Jem coming over from Shanghai to London. Obviously, Tessa wasn't there for that, but she has heard the story enough times to know. Rough on the surface, but you cut through like a knife, could refer to how scared and broken Tessa was after being tortured by the Dark Sisters. She goes to the London Institute. Suddenly she is surrounded by strangers, and who is one of the first friends that she makes? Jem. So Tessa was so surprised that she felt so comfortable around Jem that his friendship cut through her like a knife. The rest of the song is then set between the last chapter of Clockwork Princess, not the epilogue, but the last chapter set in the Victorian era, and the epilogue itself. You have lines like, lost in your current like a priceless wine. For me, that's that really messy and emotional time when Tessa wants to be with Jem, but she can't be with Jem because he is still a silent brother, he is still brother Zachariah, and he doesn't fully feel things like a real human does. They are both mourning Will, but they both have these emotions, and it's just a whole hot mess. Tessa is lost in Jem's current. She doesn't know what the hell is going on. She's completely emotional and she just has no idea what to do. The chorus is Tessa following Jem throughout the century as he lives his life as a silent brother. Alas, wherever you stray, I follow. However far away Jem goes, Tessa is always there, and Tessa will always be there to meet him every year in the exact same spot. This is then similar to the line, life was a willow and it bent right to your wind. Again, the hands of fate bringing these two together over the years. If you remember, the final line of the epilogue in Clockwork Princess says that the wheel had finally come full circle. This could be the wheel of fate, and also bending as Tessa and Jem's lives weave around each other like a willow branch. And now we're on to verse 2, and you have Tessa dreaming about Jem throughout the years when she's scared that she will be alone forever. Will has just died. She doesn't know what she's doing with herself. All she has to cling on to are memories from the past, and these memories start to seep into her dreams as well. Head on the pillow, I could feel you sneaking in. So the next line is scarily accurate. It is literally like Taylor wrote the song for Jem and Tessa, as if you were a mythical thing. So Cast your mind all the way back to Clockwork Angel when Tessa first meets Jem and she comments on how ethereal looking he is because of his pale skin and because of his silver hair. So one of my favourite Jesser moments when the reader knows more than the characters do is when Tessa is just staring at Jem across the table eating some toast and she's like, I didn't realise someone so ethereal and beautiful would eat toast. Probably one of my favourite Jesser moments, hands down. You know that my train could take you home could refer to Clockwork Prince when Will, Jem and Tessa head up to the York Institute on the train. Tessa pretends to be engaged to Jem so she can pass as a mundane who will ascend to become a Shadowhunter, but the whole thing is basically them two just flirting the whole time. Tessa's wearing the Carstairs ring on her finger and it's just so soft. So the final verse and the final chorus of Willow reminds me especially of the Clockwork Princess epilogue. The line, "But I come back stronger than a 90s trend," is a nice nod to Tessa's immortality, and when Jem said that he thought she looked beautiful in every single era. But the best bit in my opinion is what comes next. Wait for the signal and I'll meet you after dark. If you remember, just before Jace cures Jem with the heavenly fire, Magnus starts to have dreams of Jem being mortal again. So that's Tessa waiting for the signal. I'll meet you after dark is of course their annual meeting on Blackfriars Bridge. Show me the places where the others gave you scars. These could both be emotional scars of the Brotherhood, but also Jem's physical scars on his face that remind him of what he's just gone through in the last century. Now this is an open shut case. Finally these two can be together. There is nothing standing in their way. Guess I should have known from the look on your face. For me, this is when Jem is just like gazing at Tessa because he can finally see again. He can finally remember just how beautiful she really is to him. And there's that really nice line when Tessa said she had forgotten what it was like to be looked at like you were the most wonderful marvel in the world. I'm begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man. This is Tessa asking Jem if he still feels the same way about her, and she's asking him if he wants to start a brand new life with her. Then you get the repeated, that's my man, that's my man, that's my man, because you know that along with Will, Jem is Tessa's other love of her life. Try listening to Willow now without thinking about Jem and Tessa. I dare you. So moving on from the Infernal Devices to the Dark Artifices. Again, if you haven't read this series, please skip this section of the video. I don't want to inadvertently give you any spoilers. As you guys can imagine, I already have a separate Emma Carstairs playlist, but today I want to share with you a song that reminds me of Emma and Julian together, also known as Blackstairs. And that song is Twice by Christina Aguilera, which, if I'm thinking about it, also fits quite well because we have another badass Christina. For me, this song is told from Emma's perspective about Julian, specifically emotionless Julian in Queen of Air and Darkness, but also the fact that Julian had to grow up too quickly when he was 12 and look after his brothers and sisters like he was their father. It's Emma basically realising just how dark Julian really is, but still loving him anyway, and it also has some really nice allusions to the Parvati curse. Are you devil? Are you angel? Are you water? Are you fire? Are you filthy? Are you pure? I thought by now I'd know, but I'm not sure. So this is Emma seeing Julian in a whole new light after all this time that she's known him, especially when he kills Dane Larkspur in Faerie. But the "Are you devil? Are you angel?" is a nice nod to Julian's angelic blood as well. Well, you're no angel, I never asked you to be. You're my danger because that's just what I need, but it still hurts me. So even though Emma knows what Julian has been through and just why he removed his emotions, it still cuts her up to see him this way. Then you have the chorus, which is Emma realising just how much she is in love with Julian and wondering what the whole point of everything is if she can't spend the rest of her life with him because of the Parvati curse. Sometimes I wonder what is the meaning of my life. I found the price of love and lost my mind. Again, this is Emma slowly going mad because she knows how much she loves Julian and she can feel the Parvati curse happening, but there's nothing she can do to stop it. My forever and my end, my forgiveness and my sin. Just two Parvati and love things. I have sacrificed the most of my youth. This is referring to how quickly Emma and Julian had to grow up after the Dark War, how they basically became adults at the age of 12, and how their childhood was cruelly stolen away from them. So the last bit of the song is Emma contemplating breaking the Parvati rune so her and Julian can be together, and it's also how the Clave rules about Parvati make Emma think that Julian is her enemy because they are both in love with each other, but they are also both Parvati. party at the same time. Is it treason? Is it true that the worst I won't undo? Only enemy I have in love is you. So the repeated refrain, I do it all again and won't think twice, won't think twice, is Emma realizing that she would do the whole thing over again. She would actually go through and break the Parvati mark if it meant that her and Julian could be together like this. So I hope you guys agree this is the ultimate Blackstairs song, but if you still want some more Blackstairs music content, I have also made a playlist for Emma and Julian's travel year, specifically their time in Paris, and I will leave that in the description below. But make sure your shuffle isn't on because I put it in a really jazzy order. Okay, so the last series I'm going to be sharing song recommendations for is The Last Hours. So if you haven't read Chain of Gold yet, please don't spoil anything and please don't watch this section of the video. So one of my favourite parts of Chain of Gold is when Cordelia dances with Cortana in the Hell Rule. So in this scene, you basically have Kellington the werewolf in the background playing the violin as Cordelia dances with Cortana and retells the story of the servant girl, Tawadud from the Arabian Nights. So the song that reminds me of this moment and of this dance is an instrumental at the start of Ellie Goulding's album Delirium, which, side note, is a great album to listen to separately. But because this song is just an instrumental, I feel like you can really picture Cordelia dancing with Cortana to it. I feel like the song starts really slow and it really builds, and at the end of the song it's just like the perfect moment for when Cordelia slams Cortana into her sheath and says, I slay. This song also reminds me of traditional Middle Eastern music a bit, specifically because in this traditional music the texture tends to thicken as more instruments are added, similar to how this Ellie Goulding song really builds. And the slight cooling sounds in this song reminds me of like a lament across the desert. Obviously this then goes hand in hand with the fact that Cordelia is retelling a story from the Arabian Nights collection. And finally, the last song that I'm going to share with you guys today reminds me of none other than James Herondale and Grace Blackthorne, specifically their summer romances before Grace moves to London in 1903. It is, of course, Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift. As much as I think that Cruel Summer is the ultimate Grace and James song, there is also a newer Taylor Swift song that came out at the end of last year that could be a Grace, James and Cordelia song. If you know, you know. So if you have enjoyed my song recommendations for these YA characters, please let me know in the comments and I might do a part 2 with more songs, including that song from that album. I know you guys know which one I'm on about here. Okay, so Cruel Summer. For me, this song alternates between both James's perspective and Grace's perspective. The first few lines are from James's perspective. So while you could suggest that Fever Dream High refers to when James got scalding fever and Cordelia sat by his bedside, because I'm going to explain this song from a James and Grace perspective, I'm going to suggest that the line Fever Dream High also refers to the fact that James says when he is wearing the bracelet, everything is like a bit foggy, and only when he takes it off does everything become a lot clearer. So Fever Dream High in the quiet of the night is a throwback to 1899 when James first meets Grace on the night that Will's parents sadly die. So on that fateful night in 1899, James leaves Herondale Manor to help Tatiana Blackthorne cut back the briars at Blackthorne Manor. And it is then when James meets Grace for the first time. We then switch to Grace's perspective, specifically the year later in 1900 when James sneaks into the Blackthorne Manor as a shadow to take back the silver bracelet that Grace asked him to steal. Obviously we all know that this is also the same bracelet that Grace uses to possess James. Bad, bad boy, shiny toy with a price, you know that I bought it. Then you have Grace literally just waiting and watching James as she is trapped inside this manor, killing me slow out the window. I'm always waiting for you to be waiting below. Switch back to James's perspective. Devils roll the dice, angels roll their eyes. Is James not knowing that he is in fact being possessed by Grace? It also could be a nice nod to the Devil Tavern, which as you know is the pub which James and the rest of the merry thieves regularly frequent. What doesn't kill me makes me want you more. Again, this is James not realizing that he is actually being possessed by Grace and falling deeper and deeper in love with her. So the chorus is James basically just thinking that Grace is the most like perfect and beautiful thing in the whole entire world, and it's new, the shape of your body, it's blue, the feeling I've got. So James literally looks back and he sees these summers as perfect. But it's all fake. No rules in breakable heaven, no rules because Grace is playing dirty and possessing James, and breakable heaven because these summers seem like heaven to James, but they are breakable because it is all a facade. It's a Cruel Summer with You is one of those the reader knows more than the character moments, because we all know the truth about what actually goes down in these summers, but for James he just thinks it's like the best thing in the world, and he thinks the sun shines out of Grace's arse. You'll say that we'll just screw it up in these trying times. We're not trying. It's some big gaslighting from Grace, similar to what she does in Chain of Gold when she literally begs and blackmails James to agree to marry her so she can escape Tatiana Blackthorn. Also when she does her whole like mind control thing and begs him to keep the bracelet on. Switch back to Grace's perspective. So cut the headlights, summer's a knife, I'm always waiting for you just to cut to the bone. This is Grace literally waiting for James just to come to her house every summer, while the cut to the bone refers to that one summer when James didn't go on holiday and Grace took it as a personal offence. And then we have some more emotional manipulation, and if I bleed, you'll be the last to know. Switch back to James's perspective for one of Taylor Swift's best ever bridges, obviously not forgetting Getaway Car here as well. So for me, the bridge is from James's perspective, specifically the events set in 1903 in the midnight air from the Bane Chronicles. So long story short, in the midnight air, Magnus finds James drunk and heartbroken in a bar and takes him back to the Institute. And that's where you have I'm drunk in the back of the car and I cried like a baby coming home from the bar. The next lines are James keeping his relationship with Grace a secret after all these years, and also the fact that James is just an utter and complete mess in this short story. Said I'm fine, but it wasn't true. I don't want to keep secrets just to keep you. And then the best part of the bridge that I always end up screaming whenever I listen to this song, and I snuck in through the garden gate every night that summer just to seal my fate. Obviously this is James sneaking into the Blackthorn Manor and putting himself further and further inside Grace's manipulative clutches. Indeed, boy really did seal his own fate. And then you have James convincing himself that he is entirely in love with Grace and agreeing to be with her when she moves to London. Also when he finally confesses to the Merry Thieves that he does in fact love Grace Blackthorn, and I screamed for whatever it's worth, I love you, ain't that the worst thing you've ever heard? And then all you have to do is change he looks so pretty like the devil to she looks so pretty like the devil, and you have yourself the perfect James and Grace song. You're welcome. So I hope you guys enjoyed my song suggestions and listening to my intense lyrical analysis. I also hope that you have been listening along with me as I have been explaining these songs. So like this video if you have enjoyed it, remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on my Bookstagram as well for more content. Let me know which songs remind you of your favourite YA characters in the comments below, and also let me know if you want me to do a part 2 of this video, because trust me, I have so many more song suggestions to give you guys.